I'm Malachy, and this is the OPZ, the tiny multimedia synthesizer and sequencer with 2 FX buses, 8 instruments, 16 tracks, and 160 patterns. So when you open the box, you'll see on the very top, encased in foam, is the OPZ itself. And then you have a short manual, much like a brochure with text on how to use the OPZ. Next are these covers, which have text on them to help you learn what each button does. Then it comes with this USB-C charging cable, also used in the new Google Pixel or the Apple iPhone X. Now, I mentioned earlier how tiny it was, so just to show you how tiny this is, I brought some of my favorite candies to show you. First, a bar of chocolate Toblerone, fairly small candy, front and on top. A box of Mike and Ike's, a box of Sweet Tarts Mini Chewy Candies, a box of Bunch of Crunch, small snacks based off the Crunch Bar. Chocolate covered raisins, also known as Raisinets. Almond Hershey Bar. A pack of Twizzlers. A dark Kit Kat. And Snow Caps Nonpareils. Just so you know, I'm going to eat all of these later. So that's the overview on the OPZ and its physical features. But next we're going to go over all of the sounds and how to make music with it. This is the OPZ. Now when you turn this on, there will most likely be a project already loaded. To open an empty project, simply hold down the project button, or the P, in the top left corner, and choose a different pattern. I chose the next available empty pattern. Now what you're going to do is start with a drum. Simply go to the kick, click the drum that you want, and there are 2 ways to record this. First is to simply hold down the record button and fill the sequencer up with kicks. Now what you can do with this is arrange it into a simple rhythm. Next, you're going to want to move on to a snare. This is where I'm going to show you the second method of recording. Simply hold down the record button and press play. Now what you're going to do is choose the snare, and it will start recording immediately as you press it. You may have noticed that I had a metronome. To turn this on, simply hold down this metronome button. Turn this up to change the volume, and this will choose a different type of metronome, including saying 1, 2, 3, 4 in multiple languages. We're going to cycle back to the natural click for now. Next is a hi-hat, which is pretty much the same as both the snare and the kick, so I'm going to make a drum beat. I'll show you what I made. Now I'll turn off the metronome so you can hear it in full. Simply hold down the metronome button and turn the level down until you can't hear the metronome. Now, what you'll have is a drum beat, but you'll want to move on to a bass line, a synth, an arpeggio, and a chord. I also forgot to mention that there's also extra percussion sounds that you can use. So I'm just going to add this in as you normally would. Now we'll move on to the bass line. Choosing the sound for this is a bit different, as there are 6 pages of 4 sounds each. I'm just going to choose page 1, number 2, while holding down the track button to select. Now what you'll have is a keyboard. Classically on the A note. It has 2 full octaves, so you will be able to use only a certain amount of notes. But if you want to transpose it, I'll show you later. So, what you'll do is simply hold down the record button, press play, and get ready to record your bass line. Simple enough. You can turn these knobs to edit the sound as needed. Oh, did I mention? There are also 4 or 5 pages of different kinds of knobs. There's a green one, a purple one for LFO, and a yellow one. You can play around with these as needed, but if you're just a starting musician, then you won't need to mess around with these too much. Now, let's move on to a more interesting one, the arpeggio. You'll notice that I skipped the synth since it behaves almost exactly like its friend, the bass. So what you're going to do with the arpeggio is place down a note in the sequencer and play. You can play what it does is plays these notes in an arpeggio. You can stretch it across the entire sequence by pushing down the end button, and it should illuminate blue, and when you press play, you should have a good arpeggio. Now chords are remarkably similar, with different synths, 4 samples in each page, except it has a nice pad feel to it. So what you're going to do is pretty much the same as the bass line, the synth, and the arpeggio. And basically what you have now is a normal beat. Recently I said that you could transpose all of this. So what you're going to do is hold down the track button, click the M or master button, and you'll be in the master where you can transpose. So what you do here is you put down a sequence, and then you can choose any note you would like. We're going to choose the D note right here. And then we can change it up to create a sort of chord progression. You can even put a full chord if you want it to recognize better. And there you have it, a simple track. So if you've noticed, the sound is rather tinny. It's a pretty good speaker, but it could be better. If you want to keep it portable, I would recommend this JBL speaker that can either be Bluetooth or, with the OPZ, plugged into the right side. Now when you press play, there should be a fuller sound. See, if you want a more full sound that doesn't hurt your ears so much, or you need to hold close to you, or in public spaces, then I would recommend a speaker or headphones. Next, what you have is you can take any iOS device and download the OPZ app. If you're familiar with Teenage Engineering's other products, they usually come with a screen. This one does, it's just not included. What you can do is click the OPZ app to open. You'll see the Teenage Engineering logo, and then the second thing you'll see is this. It says push this button, and when you do, it should turn blue, like this, and flashing. So what you're going to do is push this, and then click the scan button. Your OPZ should pop up. Now, you're connected. what you want to do is go here. You can also see the battery percentage on this if you need to. 80% you can see, recently charged. It has a 6-hour battery life, by the way. So if you're going on a short trip, it should be good. But if you're going anywhere far, you should bring a charger. So, now we have the OPZ. What do? Well, first, when you open a kick, it will show all of the options. For example, what the different knobs do. Pressing the shift or arrow button to cycle through the different ones. The green one, of course. The green one, of course, shows the shape of the sound. This can edit different kinds of the sound, including the different shape, the dist, the rate, and the depth. Then the yellow one can alter the sound, the pan, or the left and right sides of the speaker, and the FX send. By the way, if you haven't noticed, this purple page is the LFO, which gives it kind of wobbly feel. So this is basically it for the OPZ, but the last thing I want to show you is the sort of light show or graphics that can be included. Now, I'm going to show you the graphics that can play along with your song. So click the screen button, the rectangle in the bottom, I believe, right corner, and scroll past Photomatic to Motion. Now, you can circle through some graphics, but as soon as you press play, you'll get a nice little sort of light show. Now, you can also go to other things, such as the MIDI setup, and the guide, and the devices. But this is probably my favorite, as there's so many different things that you could do with it. Now, I'll see if I can find some other graphics. There should be 2 video packs included. Simply click the name, and choose the next one, and select it, and play. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Malachy, this is the OPZ. Bye.